Okay. Someone has helped me record it. Okay. So let's start. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our today's training. My name is Jalen Yu from HPC User Service Group. Today, our session is Introduction to Python. So before we start talking about Python, I want to show you how to get out today's training material. So if you go to our website, hpc.lsu.edu, okay, then you go to the training tab, weekly training, upcoming, okay, and then you will see our today's session here, and you click the session. You can find a link for slides, and you click the slides. You will go to a GitHub page, and you will open a intro python.ipynb file as a Jupyter Notebook file. So everybody can open this file, right? Anybody has problem, open this file. You can, if you have any questions, you can just type in chat. So we can go and help you. I mean, during the training, if you have any questions, you can let us know by typing chat. So everybody can open this file, right? Okay, okay. So after you open this file, there's a link at the top, open in Colab, and you click it. When you load this file, you'll open this file in Google Colab. Okay. So everybody can load it in Google Colab, right? And you probably need to log into a Google account because we have a lot of commands there, a lot of Python code there for display, and you probably want to run it by yourself. So you will need to log into a Google account, otherwise we cannot run it. Okay. So anybody has problems, load this file into the Google Colab. Any problems, any questions? Okay. So let me show you again. So if you go to our website, okay, our website is hpc.lsu.edu here, right? This is our website, HPC website. Okay, I think everybody can see it here. Okay. And then in the website, there's a training tab. Okay, there's a training tab. We go to a training tab, weekly training, okay, and upcoming. It's breaking up. The full website is www.hpc.lsu.edu. Okay. So can you guys hear me right now? Because somebody says the audio is broken. I'm not sure if my audio is broken. Does it work for anybody? Like, okay, the audio is good. Okay. I don't know what's going on, but sounds echo. I didn't see it. I didn't see anybody else open the audio here. Okay, still not able to find it. Okay, yes, just phone just link the just type the link to the Jupyter Notebook file in the chat channel. So I think everybody can see it, right? The GitHub page phone, just link it in the chat, and you can just click the link, right? I just click the link, and I can go to the GitHub page of the Jupyter Notebook. So there's a dot between HPC and LSU. Okay, so you just if you can't open the LSU HPC website, you can just use the link. The phone just type okay in the chat channel. So I think everybody can open it. Okay. So anybody still have problems? Open this file. Open this file. Intro python.ipymb. So if you have opened it, you click the link at the top, open in Colab, right? Let me see something. Okay, I'm not quite sure why. Maybe because of the internet connection. Some of the people told me they can hear just fine, no problem. Maybe because of the internet connection at home, probably was working at home right now. Let me see. Is the volume high enough? Not quite sure. Okay. I don't know what's going on, but a lot of people. Let me try. Okay, if you're on hpcsu.edu, you go to the training, weekly training, upcoming. Okay, you go to the training tab, weekly training, upcoming. Okay, after you go to upcoming, you can find introduction to Python here. Here you click it. Okay, click it, and you can find a slides link here. You click it, you'll find a file on GitHub. Okay, let me try. I mean, a lot of people send me private chat message says they cannot get where the file is. Okay, I really want to move faster, but I cannot because I just want everybody to get the file. Otherwise, they don't know what's happening. Okay, so I'm trying to. Okay, and a lot of people say the volume, the audio is broken, so I have to try. Right? Let me see. Okay, so what about the audio now? Like everybody can hear me, right? So is the audio the audio clear now?
Jielin, maybe you can mute everybody. I see several users hasn't been muted.
I'm sorry. What you just said?
I see some people haven't been muted, so maybe you can mute everybody.
They don't have audio, so I think those are not muted. They do not have audio device, so it doesn't show they're muted, I think.
Okay.
Okay, it's much better. Okay, it's better. So probably it's because my earphones. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so after you open this file, okay, it's clear. Okay, now it's better. Okay, so after we open this file, I just want everybody to open this file. Okay, so you can click the link, open in Colab at the top of the file. Let's do something. Okay. How do you open file? If you click the link, you can see the file, right? You can see the file, and intro python.ipynb here, okay? And there's a link at the top, open in Colab. You can click the link, okay? Okay, you cannot see the file, okay. Let me copy this. Let me copy this and paste it. If you can't open this file, can you open the Colab link I just put in the chat channel? You can try this one, and probably you can open this one. You can load this file in Google Colab. And as I just mentioned, you probably need to log into your Google account because otherwise it won't allow you to run anything on this page. Okay, you cannot change anything, you cannot run the commands there. Okay. If there's no problem, then we will probably start today's session. Okay. So we will use the Google Colab file today, so you do not need to have Python installed, so you do not need to have an HPC account. You can open it in Colab. Okay. So today we won't be able to cover everything about Python, okay, because our time is limited and there are a lot of things to talk about in Python. So our today's session is introduction to Python, so basic introduction and some basic programming. So we will talk about what is Python briefly, why we use Python, and Python programming basics, data types. So we will probably spend some time for the data types and some time for control structures. And we will talk about functions and briefly, because there's a lot of things to talk about. For function and modules, we can only talk about it briefly, okay? So what is Python? Python is a general purpose programming language. The first release was in 1991, so it's about almost 30 years. It's very intuitive and requires minimum coding. So it's very close to how humans think. And Python is interpreted, it's not compiled. So not like other programming languages, you have to write a code, you have to compile a code, use a compiler, and you get an executable, okay? And you run the executable. Well, for Python, you do not need to do all of those. You just write a Python code and you have Python installed and you can run the Python code, okay? And it will be interpreted line by line. And Python is dynamically typed, so you do not need to define the data type. So for example, for some other programming languages, when you define the variable, you will need to define the data type. Okay, like define it's an integer, it's a string, it's a floating point number or something like that. But in Python, you don't need to do that. Python will figure it out by itself. And Python has automatic memory management. When objects are no longer needed, Python will automatically reclaim the memory from them. And one more important thing is Python uses indentation to define the block of code. Okay, some other languages may use some different marks like curly brackets or something, but Python uses indentation. Okay, this is beautiful. And all statements with the same indentation belong to the same block of code. Okay, so you may not, if you have never used Python, you may not have an idea about how this works, but we will show you several examples about it. Okay. Okay, then when we use Python, like I just mentioned, Python is very intuitive, like how humans think, right? So it's very easy to use, requires minimum time to develop your code and maintain your code, right? And Python is very popular, has a lot of people, I mean, there are a lot of people using Python and has a very large user community. And there are a lot of people, they're writing their own modules, they're writing their own libraries, and they're sharing your code, they're sharing their code. So if you want to write your Python code and you know there might be a library, there might be a module that can help. You can just download them and use them directly, and it saves you a lot of time. Okay. And there are also some disadvantages of Python. Like if you, since Python is interpreted, it's slower than compiled languages. Okay, the Python code was interpreted line by line, so it's slower. And you can use Python for scripting, for data processing, but it's not good for computational intensive applications. So then we will talk about a little bit about what is IPython and Jupyter Notebook. Okay, IPython is an interactive command shell for Python. It allows you to use basic Linux shell commands, and it's also great for plugin. And Jupyter Notebook, the file we're using today is a Jupyter Notebook file, and it's a web interface of Python, and not only for Python and for a lot of other languages now. Basically, you can run your Python code on website, and it has a lot of features. We do have a Jupyter Notebook installed on our LSU HPC Open On Demand. If you're using Open On Demand, you can load this file into the Jupyter Notebook apps there. But today we are using Colab. Okay. Any questions so far? If you have any questions, just type in chat. So chat to make sure you type it to everyone so everybody can see it. Okay. Okay, no question, then we will move on. Okay. So for variables in Python, so one of the things is you should use meaningful variable names. Okay. So you should avoid using those names like number 1, number 2, like string 1, string 2. So in today's training, we will probably use some of them like string 1 or something like that, just for showcase. Okay. So in your own code, you should avoid using this because if you have too many variables like number 1, number 2 to number 50, and after a while you might forget what does number 24 mean. Okay, so you probably want to use some variable names like velocity, density, something like that, which is meaningful. Okay, and there are also some keywords that are reserved in Python. Print, return true, false, something like that. So you should avoid using those keywords as your variable names because they're reserved. Okay, and there's a link. Okay, I just put a link there, keywords. So you can check how many keywords there in Python. So avoid using them as variable names. So a variable is assigned using the equal sign here. Very straightforward. Maybe I should. Okay, sorry. Okay, so okay, for operators, I think everybody knows the arithmetic operators, right? There's something in chat. Can variable names be substitute for leaving comment in your code? I didn't get a question. Can variable names be substitute for leaving comments in your code? Like, I'm not sure. I mean, you can definitely comment in Python code, but I'm not sure what you mean like by variable names be substituted for leaving comments in your code. Like you leave comments, you can leave comments in Python, but the comments will not be wrong. So Name your variable so you don't forget. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. That's what I'm saying. Like, use a meaningful variable name, right? Yeah, I mean, you can use a variable. I mean, you can use both, right? So for variable, like what I just said, if you are calculating the velocity, so you can put you can assign the variable name. I mean, you can use a variable name velocity. Okay, so you do not need to like. I mean, it's optional. Like nobody forces you to use the comment, right? But if you add a comment, it's better, right? Better for you and for other people to understand your code. Right? And here is the same, right? You use a meaningful variable name, so you probably everybody knows like what's happening, so you do not need to add a comment. I mean, you can use both. You can use, I mean, any variable names except those reserved keywords. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, there's some. I think there's some bugs or errors in the Google Colab, so won't show the full thing. Okay. The arithmetic operators, plus minus, and there's a star sign here. Asterisk. Okay. It means times. Okay. And power is double star. Okay. And Boolean operators and or not. Comparison operators larger than, smaller than. Right? So pretty straightforward. So anybody has questions so far? No. Okay, so the double slash, okay, the double slash is the floor division. Okay, so it will return the largest possible integer. So let me think about an example. So yeah, for example, you have 4 divided by 3, right? Then the result is not an integer, right? The result is 1.333 something. Okay, and then if you use double slash for 4 divided by 3, okay, double slash instead of a single slash, it will return 1. Okay, it will return the largest possible integer. Okay. So any other questions? Okay, no question. Okay, next we'll talk about some built-in data types of Python. Okay, there are numbers, strings, list, tuple, dictionary, and file. So these are important. I mean, we're not going to talk about all of the built-in data types, but we will talk about these. They're all important, very important. So first, we will talk about numbers. Okay. So let's first define a variable x. X equals to 3. Okay, and then we use type. We use something type and brackets, and we put x in the bracket. So what does it do? Type is a built-in function in Python. It will tell us the type of the object inside the parentheses. Okay, so let's run this part. You can run this part if you move your mouse to the square bracket, and will become a play icon, and you click it. Okay, it might ask you to log in to a Google account, so you have to do this, and it will show you a warning then, and you just click run anyway. It's a bit slow, just wait a few seconds, I think. it's allocating the allocating, okay. Okay, it's appending to a cube. Okay. It's quite slow to. I'm not sure. Maybe because a lot of people are using it. Unable to connect to the runtime. Okay. Let's wait a few more seconds. So can anybody see the results here? The type X. Okay. Okay, here's available. Try again. Ask me to try again. Okay. Connecting. I should have done this like earlier. It's still allocating. Okay. I think because probably because a lot of people are using it. Last week it was fine. Like I can use it whenever I want to run something. And now it shows allocating. So okay. Anyways, we can keep moving. Okay. So I'm not sure if anybody can see the results here. So it will show if you run a case run the. Let's try again later. Okay. So if you run it, you will show a result int. Okay. So int is a short for integer. So the type of x is integer. Okay. So you can see when we define x, there's we didn't define any data type like whether it's an integer or it's a floating point number. So we only assign a number to x, and Python figured out itself. Next, y equals to 3.0. So what is the type of y then? What's type of y? Okay, if you run the code, Python will show you float, F-L-O-A-T. Yes, exactly. But yeah, the thing is, you have Python installed on local machine, but it may not be the case for everybody else or somebody, right, for today's training. So if you have Python installed, that's great. But if you do not have Python installed, it might be an issue. So let me see if I can use something else. Okay, let's do this. Let's first probably finish this section, the numbers section. Okay, without running those code, because I already know what's happening here. So after that, I will try something else if it is working. Okay, so let's finish this section and we'll have a break, and then let's figure it out. Okay, so so here y equals to 3.0. So Python will return a float. And the type of y is a floating point number. Okay. Next, for z equals to hello and hello inside a single quotation marks. Okay. Then what is the type of z? The type of z is str, which is short for string. So this is how you assign a string to a variable in Python. Here we use single quotation marks. Well, you can use double quotation marks. Right? They're pretty much interchangeable. So you can use whichever you prefer, but you just need to keep it consistent for the code. And then we have int 3.3. So int is a built-in function in Python, and will return integer. So if we use a floating point number as input, what does it do? It will truncate it towards 0. So 3.3 will be truncated to 3. Right? Python will return results 3. Yeah, if you want to see it, you can do it, or we can run it through some website. So I will show you probably after this section. Okay, after the break. Yeah, if you have Python installed, you can type it in your Python shell, and you can just see all the results. Okay, these are just very simple command. So you can also define a complex number in Python. Okay, here we use built-in function complex to generate a complex number. Okay, the first number here 3 is the real part of the complex number, and 2 is the imaginary part. Okay, okay. Then we'll print the complex number, and here apps, the function apps will return the absolute value of your input. Here we have a negative 3.3 as an input. Python will return 3.3. Okay. Okay. Here. What if we want to use something else? Like we want to get we want to use a sine function. Want to get a square root of a number. So here we just use a module to help us. Here import. So this is a way how we use a module. we import it first. Use the keywords import, space, and the name of the module, and then we can start using the module. Here we import a module named math, and then we can use the sine function, and we can use SQLT. Okay, here. So let's probably any questions here? Any questions regarding the numbers? Okay, there's no question. Okay, let's probably have a short break. Okay, let's have a short break, and then we can see if we can figure it out. Let me pause the recording. Okay, okay, let's continue. Next, we're going to talk about strings. Okay, so first we assign string hello world to MyStr, and we run it. Okay, there's no output because we just assign a value to MyStr. Okay, and then we can use the built-in function print to print the value of MyStr, and we're using another function len. It's short for length. Okay, we'll print the length of MyStr variable. So it basically returns the number of letters, including spaces and other punctuation. So let's run it and see. Okay, it print hello world, which is the value of MyStr, and the length, which is 11. We have 10 letters with 1 space, so the length is 11. So here you can see we put 2 functions in the same line, and we add a semicolon here. Okay, so you can add more commands by adding more semicolon here. Okay, and you can also put these 2 functions, 2 commands in 2 different lines, and you will get the same result. next we will talk about the index of strings. So each of the string, each of the letters and characters inside the string, there's a corresponding index number. The index number starts from number 0. So here we add a number 0 inside a square bracket right after the variable name, which means we want to print the first character of the variable myString. Okay, and the number 1 means we want to print the second one, and number 10 means we want to print the 11th one. So let's print it. Okay, we can see hello world. The first one is H, second one is E, last one is D. Okay. If you want to print multiple characters in a string, you can use the string slicing. So we add the start and the end of the index in square brackets, and we add a column between them. So the here 1 column 4 means we will print characters with index 1 to index 4, but the character with index 4 will not print it. We'll stop at it. So it will stop at index 4 and will not print index 4. So it will print letters with index 1, 2, and 3, right? And if we do not add any numbers, only the colon here, okay, it will print the whole string. And if we only add the start of the slice and do not add the end, it will start from the number we specified until the end of the string. And here, the fourth one, if we do not add the start, it will start from the beginning of the string. So let's run it, and we can see the results. Here, index 1 is the start from the second one to the fourth one, right? And the whole string, second results the whole string, and start from 1 starts from the second. Here, the third result start from the second letter until the end. Okay, and the fourth one, right from the very beginning H to the okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Okay, no questions. Okay. Here we can add a dot split brackets at the end of the variable name of the string to split the string. Okay. So here you can add the delimiter inside brackets. So for here we do not add any delimiter here, so it will split the string using the space. Okay. So we have one space there between hello and world. So it will split our string into 2 strings. One is hello, one is world, okay? And we assign 2 values to other 2 variables, S1 and S2. And then we print S1 and S2. We can see hello world separated. And we can also assign multiple lines for string. Just use 3 sets of quotation marks. Okay, 3 sets of quotation marks like this. And we print it. You can see multiple lines, very straightforward. Okay. And sometimes you want to use the value of some other variables in your strings. So here we first define a number of pigs here, 300. And there's a string, a variable text. Okay. And we put, you can see we didn't put the number or any variables here. We put a percentage sign with a D here. Okay. Which means we want to print an integer here. And here you can see there are 2 percentage S here, which means we want an integer here. Okay. So where can we get those numbers and integers? We'll look for those variables here. Okay. So percentage D is the first one. Then you will use the value of number of pigs. Okay. And the second one, it will be half. The third one will be puff. and we print it. Okay, we can see the entire result. Okay, here another example. My share equals to percentage F means we want a floating point number here. Okay, and here we add .5 before F, which means we want a fixed amount of digits to the right of the decimal point. Here the fixed amount is 5, right? And then here we want a integer number for tick. Okay, but look at our input, it's 5.5. Okay, it's not an integer, it's a floating point number. It will also truncate it towards 0. So let's see the results. Okay, you can see the results will be 24.5 with 4 extra 0. That's because we want 5 digits after the floating point number we specify, after the decimal point. So we specify it here. And tick will be 5 instead of 5.5 because we want an integer and truncate it. Okay, there are some other built-in methods for strings. Here you can see still use hello world, and here we add dot upper brackets after the variable, which means we'll show all the letters in the string in uppercase. And the second one, dot is alpha brackets. Okay, we'll return this one. This one will return true if all the characters in the string are alphabetic. Okay, otherwise we'll return false. And here, dot is digit. Okay, dot is digits will return true if all characters in the string are digits. Otherwise, we'll return false. Okay, let's run this block and see all the results. Okay, the first results, the first print, we print the string in uppercase, you can see here, hello world in uppercase. And the second print is alpha. It returns false. Why is false? Because we have a space between hello world, so it returns false. And then we return my string 0 with index 0. So index 0 is H, right? H is alphabetic, so it return true. And here dot is digit. Let's see, the variable A is 12, right? It's 12. The 12 string is it's a string because it's in quotation marks. It's not in it's not an integer. Okay, then is it digit? Yes, it's numbers. Okay, only has numbers, so it returns true. Okay, so this is string. So any questions so far? Let me check. Okay, so no questions? No questions, okay. Okay, let's talk about list. Okay, a different data type. So what is a list? List is a collection of data. Normally we use list to store the same type of data, and list is mutable. So mutable means a mutable object. Yes. Today's session will be recorded. Okay, you can find it. Today's session will be recorded, and you can find our recording in our website, training session, weekly training archive. Okay, if you go to archive, you can see a lot of our previous training sessions. Okay. let's move on. Let's move on. So lists are mutable. So basically, a mutable object in Python means you can change it after it has been created. Okay, and an immutable object means you cannot change it. Second Amendment. I don't know what does it mean. You have any questions for that? You prefer using a tank? Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, okay, let's move on. So yeah, for immutable object, you cannot change it after it is created. Okay. So let's see how we define a list. Here is how we define list. We put all the numbers. Oh, okay. So how we define list, one of the way is we put all the elements in square brackets and separate them using comma explicitly. Okay, so we list everything, every element inside the list. Let's run this one. And you can see the result is exactly the same as what we just defined. Okay, this is the list in square brackets, elements in square brackets and separated by comma. And then we can use another function, range, to help us create a list. So range is actually an immutable sequence. So here we have three numbers inside range, -4, 10, and 4, which means the first number means the start of the sequence. The second number means the stop of the sequence. Well, the stop number will not be included in the sequence. And the third number means the step. Okay, so we will get -4, 0, 4, 8, right? And 10, it will stop at 10 and 10 is not included. And then we use the list function here to turn the range to a list. And we print it, right? You can see list with -4, 0, 4, and 8. Okay. And same as strings, right? The elements in the list can also be accessed using index. It's exactly the same as string. So starting at 0. And 0 is the first one, 3 is the fourth one. Okay, so let's print it. You can see the first one is 1. So my list. We define here 1, 2, 9, 4. First one is 1, right? The last one is 4. Okay. Same as 3. Okay. Here, you can see if we add two lists together, what can happen, right? It will merge these two strings, merge the elements of these two strings. Won't add them up or do any other things. So let's run and see the results, right? 1, 2, 9, 4, and another 1, 2, 9, 4. Okay, merge the element. Okay. And then for string, the list times 2 times a number, which means you want to repeat the list like several times. Right? Times 2 means you want to repeat twice the second results you can see. And times 3 means you want to you want to repeat it 3 times. 3, 1, 2, 9, 4. And you can see those commands, right? These commands plus times, they don't change the value of original list. Okay. Here, my list is still 1, 2, 9, 4. Okay. And here we define the list animal, okay, and animals, right? The cat, horse, and after that there's a for loop, okay. For loop in Python does not iterate over an arithmetic progression of numbers. So for some other languages, you probably need to define for n smaller than 10 or something like that. Well, for Python, it only iterates over the elements of any sequence. Okay. So the sequence can be a list, can be a string, it can be a tuple. Right? And so it will iterate in the original order of those elements. Okay, so it will go to dog and cat and then horse. Okay, so here we have for pet in animals. Okay, so pet is just the name of the variable. You can use anything else like friends. Right? So it means for each element in the list animals, right? For each element, pet is just the name of the element. Okay, for each element in animals list, right? What we do, right? Inside for loop, we print pet. Right? So we print each element inside the animals list. Okay, let's run it. Right, you can see dog, cat, horse, right, in the original order. Okay, here we use another function, enumerate. Okay, the enumerate function will return a tuple containing a count starting from 0 and the value obtained from the input. Okay, not very straightforward. Right? So let's see what happened. We just use the enumerate function for animals, and then we change it to a list and we print it. So let's see for the first result what happened. Okay, so you can see it starts from 0 and start counting the elements in animals. Right, the first element is dog, so the tuple will be 0 and dog. And the second tuple will be 1 cat and 2 horse, right? And we change it to a list, right? It is inside a list. 3 elements, each tuple is an element. So we'll talk about tuples later, okay? And I think tuples is very similar to a list, but it is immutable. So here we have a for loop here for index, number, enumerate. Okay? So we will print the index plus 1 and the name. Name is just index and name are just variable names like the pet here, right? So in the for loop, and right, so we have already seen what is inside. What does enumerate do? So basically, we print the count plus 1, and the name. Name is the element inside animals, right? So we will print 1 dog, 2 cat, and 3 horse. So any questions so far? Okay, no questions. Then next we'll talk about how to modify our list. Okay. So there's some methods to modify our list. So we can since list is mutable, so we can change any elements. Right? We can even delete elements. Right here, you use the keyword DA space my list. Well, the first element of my list. Right? What is my list? The 1, 2, 9, 4. Okay, and we print my list, and then we use another method dot append 99. Well, what does append do? Append basically add the element to the end of the variable. So we will add 99 to the end of my list. Okay, so the third one, dot insert, okay, 1 and 100. So it doesn't insert two numbers, okay. You will insert 100 to the location with index 1. So index 1 is basically the second element. So we will insert 100 to my list as the second element. Okay, let's run this. Let's run this these commands and see what's happening. Right. Okay, here you can see the first results. The first element, the original of my list is 1294. Okay, and the first one has been removed. Right, at append, right? You will append a 99 here, and insert will insert 100 as the second element. Right, and you can sort here. You can sort the element, right, by adding the dot sort and brackets. So by default, you will be in ascending order, or you can, right, you want to reverse it, you can use dot reverse, right, in the descending order. So let's see the results. Right. So, and you can see, as you might notice, these methods, like these two blocks, these two sections, okay, the append, insert, append, insert, and these things, they all change the list in place, right? So which means you will directly change the elements, the content inside the list, right? And our list is not the original one anymore. Okay, I'm not sure if you have noticed that. And here you can see we only print my list, okay, my list. But the results is different every time. It is not based on the original one anymore because the list has been changed. Okay, so you can also do it like you can also run it multiple times. You can see. If you run it multiple times, you keep adding 99 and keep inserting 100 here. Like keep deleting the first one and keep adding 100. So you should be very careful about it. Right? So sometimes you don't want to change the list, but if you use those methods, your list will be changed. Okay, just be careful about it. Okay, and then so if you do not want to use those the dot sort method, you can use the sorted function. Sorted function to sort those elements in your list. Okay. For here we define another list: cats, sheep, dogs, horse. Okay. And so these are strings, right, instead of numbers. So numbers will be sorted in ascending order. So strings will be sorted alphabetically by default. Okay. And Python, so if you have like uppercase, lowercase, and different types of strings inside the list, and Python will put uppercase letter first, right? Because uppercase character has ASCII value lower than lowercase, right? And for let's see the results. Let's run it first. Okay, let's see the first results. We just simply sorted. So you can see the list is sorted alphabetically, but the uppercases, but the string with uppercases, they're put in the first in the first two. Okay, and for both sorted or the list dot sort method, they have a keys. Okay, you can use keys for them. So what does keys do? So you can use a key to specify a function to be called for comparing. Okay, so what does it mean? So here you can see the second example. We specify the length. Like we just talked about it, return the length of a string or return length of a list. Okay. So here we specify key equal to length. So basically, it will run the length function on each element, right? On each element. And then based on the results of the len function, it will sort the list. Okay, so let's check. Okay, the length of cats is 4. Sheep is 5. Dogs is 4, and horses is 6. Okay, so let's see. Based on the length, so it's cats, dogs, sheep, horse. Okay, but for cats and dogs, they're both 4. Okay, so because the sorted function will not change the relative order of each element. If they're compared equal, so for len, the cats and dogs are 4, so it won't change the relative order. So cats appears to be the first one in this. So here it appears to be first one, even though the length of the length of cats and dogs are the same. Okay, and here reverse. So you can set reverse to be true or not. If it is true, then right, it will print in the reverse order. And then we print my list 3 again. You can see it's the same as the original one. So the sorted function does not change the original list. And see here another sorted keyword, str.lower. So I've showed you str.upper, right? It will show all the in the string, I think in the string section. So str.upper will show all the letters in uppercase. Here, well, since we specify it as key, so we will compare all the elements in the list as lower case. So let's run it and see. You can see if we transfer it in lowercase and compare them, right? This is the result. And it won't change the won't change any elements, right? You can see it's uppercase in the original list. It's still uppercase here. Right here, here next, I'm gonna show you. I think should be. Yeah, one of the things is it's very. One of the things is a good thing for Colab is you can change it. Right? You can always change it. Right? You can see the results. Right? Same, because if you transfer them to all lowercase, uppercase, right? You only compare the first letter, right? C, D, H, S. Right? You can try it by yourself if it is available for you, right? If you do not have like the Colab available, it's still allocating, so maybe run it afterwards. Okay, then next we'll show you another way of generating a list. So here we use for loop to help us generate a list. So here we have a new list named mylist4, okay, 291, and here the square variable, we put the whole expression, the whole command inside the square brackets. Okay, so it's the square of x for x in mylist4. Okay. So what does it mean? It means the element of this list is square of x. So each element is square of x. So where does x come from? So we just talk about for loop, right? So x come from the for loop, for x 4. Okay, so it means it will put the square of each element in mylist4 as element in square. So let's see what we have. Okay, square equals to 4, 25, 81, 1. So it means the first element will be the square of 2. The second element will be the square of 5. Third one will be the square of 9, and 1 and the square of 1 is 1. okay? And for large, the same thing for large, and for n in my list for if, right? Now we added an if element. If n is larger than or equal to 5, okay? If n is larger than or equal to 5, it will be put here. Otherwise, it won't. So we only have like 2 elements here because 2 is smaller than 5, 1 is also smaller than 5. So we only have 5, 9 here. Okay. So any questions so far? Okay, I didn't see any questions in chat. Okay, so okay, next we will talk about tuples. Okay, so we just talk about list. Okay, and there are a lot of methods we use append, insert, sort, and we do not have them for tuples. Even though they look very similar, we do not have those methods for tuples, okay? Because tuples are immutable. Lists are mutable, so we can change lists, but we cannot change the tuple after we create it. Okay, but why we use tuple? Right? It seems it's less powerful than list. So, like for example, if you have a sequence, and you probably will never change it in your code, it's fixed. It's fixed all the way in your code. So it's better to use a tuple than using a list because tuples are processed faster than the list. And since tuples are immutable, the sequence, your sequence is protected, and it's much safer than using a list. Okay. And there's a surprising trend for tuples, and we'll talk about it later. Okay. Let's first see how do we define a tuple. Okay. A tuple consists of a number of values separated at commas, like this. Okay. My tuple equals to 1, 2, and you can put like numbers, or you can put strings like 3. Okay, here, and let's print our tuples. Okay, here. Okay. Different from what we just specified, like strings, like lists, like it will print exactly the same thing as we defined. Right? But here it's different because it has brackets, parentheses. Right? So in an output, right? The output of tuple are always enclosed in parentheses. So the tuples can be interpreted correctly. So if you do not have it, like you might be printing 1, 2, 3 separately, like you may not think it's a tuple with parentheses, right? No, okay, it's a tuple. It's not something else. Okay, and then for input, okay, you can use parentheses, or you can, or if you do not want to use parentheses, that's okay. So like what we did here, right? There's no parentheses here, but for like some occasions, like parentheses are needed, right? If your tuple is part of a very large expression, like you have something else, and you don't want Python to misunderstood what you're trying to do, right? So it's better for you to add parentheses, okay? And we can also define a empty tuple, right? By just adding the parentheses here, nothing inside, okay? So if you don't add anything, it will be an error. So this is how we define an empty tuple, and we print it will be empty, okay? And also you can define a tuple with only one element, okay? Only one element. Like even though it's one element here, you have to use a comma here, like 50 comma. Like we print it, we'll get same thing, okay? Just one element in the tuple, but you still need a comma. Right? Here, we define a tuple and 2831. Okay, we print it, and then we define ABCD equals my tuple, okay, equals my tuple. This is called sequence unpacking, right? And it works for any elements. It works for list, right? Also works for list. And the sequence unpacking requires the list of variables on the left, right? List of variables on the left to have the same number of elements as the length of the sequence. So basically, the length of my tuple is 4 because I have 4 elements here. Well, then if I want to do the sequence unpacking, I have to use exactly the same numbers here, right? I have four variables defined on the left-hand side. So the length of my tuple must be 4. Okay. Then we can print, as you can see, we have print A, B, C, D separately. Then elements in tuple like strings, like list, they can also be accessed by index. Okay. Very straightforward. Like we mentioned, we tried deleting an element in our list. We can delete a lot of things in Python, and we can also delete the whole list, the whole tuple here, right? First, we define a tuple TUP here, and then we try deleting the tuple. Like what's happening? Okay, let's work on it. Okay, we get an error message. Okay, let's see. We define a tuple and we printed the tuple, and then we print after we deleted. We print after deleting tuple. Okay, we get an error. The error says, okay, TUP is not defined. Why is not defined? We defined it, but we delete it afterwards. So we delete it afterwards, it doesn't exist anymore. So it shows, okay, the TUP is not defined. Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions so far about anything for tuple, for list, for strings? Okay, I didn't see any questions in chat. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about the splicing twin. Okay, so let's see those commands. Let's see those code here. First, we assign the same value for 2 tuples, dom and d. Okay, you can see we put a string here and we'll put a list as a element of the tuple. So we can put this in a tuple. We can also put this in the list. Okay, so then we print the double equal sign d and a dom and d here. So this operator just compares the value of these 2 variables. So if their values are the same, it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. Okay, and here we print dom is d. Okay, is checks if these 2 variables are same object. Right, so let's bring it. Let's see the results. Okay, the first print is true because we assign same value to dom and d, okay? And the second one is false, which means they are not same object, right? Because we define 2 tuples, even though they have the same value, they're different objects, and dom is d is false. So let's use the function ID to check it again. So the ID is a built-in function which will return the identity of an object. So the ID number of an object is an integer. It will always return an integer like this. Okay, we do ID for dom, ID for d, will return 2 integers. Okay, and then the integer will be unique for this object and will be constant during the lifetime of this object. So if we delete it, like something else might have this ID, but if dom is still exists, this integer will be unique and constant for them. Okay, and here this is the ID for D, and we can see their IDs are different, so it means they're objects. Okay. Then here we define tdoom equals to DOM. Okay, and then we print the value of DOM and tdoom, and we do pretty much the same thing for DOM and D. We do them for tdoom and DOM, and let's see the results. Okay, so it turns out tdoom and DOM has the same value. Okay, they have the same value, and they're the same objects, and they're also the same objects. Why? Because we define tdoom equals to DOM instead of assigning same value to them, right? We define tdoom equals to DOM, right? Which means they're the same objects, and you can see they have the same ID number, right? And then what we do, then we define skills equals to the second element of tdoom. Okay, we print it. So what is the second element of tdoom? It's the list. Well, we just talk about tuples are immutable. Well, lists are mutable, so we can change the list inside the tuple, right? So here we append a wrap, we append a string wrap to the skills, and we print tdoom again. You can see it has been changed. So originally, for the second element list, it only has two elements. Right now, it has 3 elements. So we have changed the tuple. So if you put a mutable element inside the tuple, and you cannot change the tuple, but you can change the mutable element in the tuple, so the value will be changed. Okay, the value of the tuple will be changed. Then finally, we print DOM and D and see if they have the same value anymore. No, they don't. They don't. Why? Because we have changed the tdoom. We have changed the element of tdoom to change the value of tdoom, while tdoom is the same object as DOM. So DOM is not the same. DOM does not have the same value as D anymore. You can see DOM now has the same value as tdoom. Okay. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, no questions, no questions. Okay. Okay, next we'll talk about the dictionaries. Okay. So what are dictionaries? All right. Dictionaries are a list of key value pairs. Okay, it's unordered collection of objects to provide very fast lookup. So, I mean, because it's unordered, it does not have an index or something. So their elements are accessed by keys, and those keys are those elements are mutable. So they are accessed by keys, not by any index. Right? So let's see how we define a dictionary. We put key value pairs, okay, inside curly brackets. And then here you can see key colon value. Here, this is a pair. And we separate each pair by using comma. Right? And here we define my dictionary cats 4, dogs 2, sheep 3, right? And we print it, we get the same results. Okay, in this, we put those pairs inside curly brackets, okay? So for keys, elements are accessed by keys, not by index. So if you want to access the elements with key cats, we just add it here and we run it, we will print 4, right? Like just replace the index with keys. Okay, right. For strings, for lists, for tuples, we access the elements by using index, right? So here for dictionary, there's no index, so we access them by using keys. Here, and if you want to add pairs, right, you can also change the dictionary. It's mutable. So if you want to change it, you want to add something, add new key element pairs. Right? So you do just give a new key name and a new value there, and you will add it. You will add horse and the value 3 to the dictionary. Okay. After added, we print it. After we added, we print it, and we can sort it. We can sort my keys or my dictionary. By default, it will be the keys will be sorted instead of values. So it will sort the key. Okay. So let's see the results. Okay. Let's see the results. Cats. Let's see the results. Okay. Initially, we have cats 4, dogs 2, sheep 3. Right? So here we add a new one. Horse equals to 3. Horse value is 3, right? So now we have cats 4, dogs 2, sheep 3, right? And horse 3. Okay. I mean, they can have the same other. For they have elements that have the same value. Right? So, right, and after we sort our dictionary. So what happened? Right? We sort it, and the keys will be sorted instead of values, or the keys with the values. It's not a pair. So if we sort it, you only sort the keys, and we'll put the keys inside the list. Okay? You can see the results. Next, let's see what's next. Okay. So next is my keys. Okay. So you can also print all the keys, or print all the values here. So keys, values here. And you can see you just add dot keys brackets and dot values brackets. Well, you will print all the keys, and print all the values of my dictionary. And also we just talk about if we sort it, it will be sorted in sorted for keys but not values. But here, if you use my dictionary.values, you will sort values. Okay, let's run it. And you can see cats, dogs, sheep, horse, and those are keys and values for 2, 3, 3, and then we'll sort value. Okay. Okay, and here here's a for loop for keys and values in my dictionary.item. So dictionary.item will return the key value pairs in tuples in the list. Okay, just very similar like as what we did if we use enumerate, right? It will return key and value and they're in the same tuple, and then the next tuple will be another key and value, and put them in the list. So and we use a for loop to get the keys and values. We print it. It will be something like that. You will print keys and values, keys and values, keys and values. Okay. So any questions so far? Okay, yes. So let me see. There's some questions, I think. Wait, let me see. It scrolls down really fast. Really fast. Let me check. Okay, the first question. Can you remove the keys? Okay, definitely you can remove keys. Like you can use the del, the del like we showed. Del we deleted element in the list. Right? And we can also delete the whole tuple. You can use the same method to delete it. Okay. And the second, can you change the value of the dictionary, like example, mega database? Yes, you can. You can change the value of the dictionary, like you like here, right? Like here, we define my dictionary and we define new key horse and define a new value 3, right? So if you want to change, for example, dogs here, you just change the horse to dogs, and you can specify a new value, and then it won't change the keys, right? Because you specify the same key, but you will change the values. You will override all values. Okay. Let me see. There's a private comment. Okay, yeah, it's pretty long. Yeah, it's pretty long. We just started at 9, so it's already 1 hour and a half. So I'll finish it as soon as possible. Okay, and additional forces. Okay, no, you cannot, if you cannot add an element with the same key. Okay. Print my dictionary decided, well, it decided in the order. So how does print my dictionary decided what order to print the pairs? Well, in the way you define it, right? You can see you define it cats, the first dogs, the second sheep, right? You print it this way. Okay, any other questions? Okay, no questions. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's next talk about files. Okay, so in Python you can also open a file and you can read a file and you can change a file in Python. Okay, so before you can do anything to a file, you have to open this file using the built-in open function here. Okay, so and in the open function, you define the file name, right? And the access mode. Well, the access mode is optional. So if you don't define it, you only define the file name, is okay. But by default, it will. Yeah, we can talk about later. Like, let's finish this. It takes pretty long. We have some issues like showing the notebook and just spend probably 10 minutes explaining how to get those Jupyter Notebook files. So let's finish this one and we can talk about it later. Okay, so file name here, and by default, if you don't set the access mode, by default you will be read mode, in read only mode. Okay, in read only mode, and you can see there are several modes here, right? And basically you don't want to change the original content, you want to add something to it. And read only, write only, read, write, and for read only and read plus, it will give you an error if the file does not exist. Okay, for write it won't. Okay, very straightforward. Okay. Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions regarding the file modes, access mode of files? Okay, no questions then. So here in Jupyter Notebook, okay, we can not only run Python code, okay, we can execute terminal commands by adding an exclamation mark at the beginning of the command. Okay, so you can see this command will add a exclamation mark. Okay, here. So this command is a shell command. Okay, it will check the file data.txt. If the file does not exist, you will download the file. Otherwise, you will return file exists. So let's run it. Okay, so the file does not exist. So you will download the file. Okay, download the file. Okay, it says complete 100% and data.txt saved. Okay. Then in Python, we open this file. We open data.txt in read-only mode, and we read it, and then we store them in a variable named content. Okay. Then we close it. We close the file. We close the data.txt. Okay. Import. We close it, and then we print the content. Let's see. Okay. We can print the data.txt file without problem, because even though we close the data.txt file, we have stored the content, right? We use the .read method, right? We read it, we store it into the content variable, then we can use it afterwards. Right? If you do not, right? If you remove this line, if you do not put it in the any variables, it will be lost after you close it. Right here, we write to a file. So you can see we have several terminal commands. Right, the first one, we just want to show how many files, right? How many files we have right now. Let's first run it. Okay, so you can see total 8. Right, here you can see we have data.txt file. We have a sample data. Right, only have 2 files. Right, only have 2 files here, and then we open a file write.txt, which does not exist in write mode. Okay, in write mode, it won't give us an error if the file does not exist. And then we use a .write, and we write a line to the write.txt file. We close it, and then close it. Okay. And then we show how many files we have right now. Right? We have data.txt, we have simple data. Okay. We also have the write.txt. The write.txt file has been generated. Okay. And we use another terminal command to show the content of write.txt. It's write to a file. Okay. The line we just added. Okay. This is how to read a file and write a file, change a file. So we talked about briefly. Okay, so there are a lot of more things to talk about in. Yes, I just said the exclamation mark. Okay, here in Jupyter Notebook, if we add this one, okay, then the command, then type the terminal command. Right here, you see this is a command will work in Bash. Okay, it's not a Python. It's not a command in Python. It's not a code in Python. Right? It's a terminal command. Okay. So we add exclamation mark here. Right? You can see. I'm not sure if you have used Linux. Right? So basically the command works in Linux. Right here. Right here. We have 3 exclamation mark here. Right? So, which means those commands after this mark will be terminal commands instead of the commands in Python. Okay. Yeah, we just talked about files briefly. So then we will talk about the control structures. Control structures. Let's open those in cells. Okay. So I think if you have any experience with other programming languages, I think you have already used like those control structures, if, else, for loop, while loop, those kind of things. So we will go over them one by one. So, okay. Oops. First, if statement. Okay, so we define x equals to 100 to 500. Okay, then there's an if statement. Okay, so this one will check if x is larger than 5. If x is larger than 5, it will print height greater than 5. Okay. Then we have an elif. Elif means is a short for else if. Okay. So if x is not larger than 5, we will go to elif to check if x is smaller than 5. Okay. If x is not larger than 5 and is not smaller than 5, you will go to else and print x equals to 5. Okay. Okay. Let's run it. Okay. Very straightforward. Just if, else, if, else. Okay. And the next one, the for loop. Okay. I think it's pretty. So we have already talked about for loop right here. Lost sound. So anybody? So everybody can hear me. Anybody can hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. 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 So sound lost. One of the users that is the sound is lost. Okay. So so for we have a for loop here. Right? We just talked about for loop, right? And here there's a there's our range. Okay. So here we only have one input in the range instead of 3 numbers. So what does it mean? So if we only have one number in the range, it means the number will be used as the end of the sequence. And what about the start and the stat? Right? The start will by default be 0, and the stat will be 1 by default. Okay. So what if we will have 2 numbers? Right? You can define one number, you can define 3 numbers. So what about 2 numbers? Right? If you have 2 numbers in the range, so the first number will be the start, the second number will be a stop, and the step will be 1 by default. Okay, let's print this. Right? 0, 1, 2. Okay, very straightforward because we have talked about it. And third one, the while loop. Okay, the while loop, we define the index equals to 0, and then while loop, it checks if index is smaller than 3. Okay, if that is true, it will run all the commands inside the while loop. Okay, until it is not true. Okay, well, run it. If index is always smaller than 3, it will run infinite loop. Okay, so let's see. Index is 0. Okay, so index is smaller than 3, and we start the commands here, and we print index, and then we add 2 to the index. Okay, after that, what we do? Do we run the print? Done? Do we run the print done? No, we don't run it. Why? Because it is not inside the while loop. How do we tell? We tell it by check the indentations. Okay, so you can see the print index and the index equals the index plus 2. They have the same indentation, and they are inside the while loop. While the print done command, it is not inside the while loop. So we don't run it until the end of the while. Okay, and we go back to the while loop and check if the index is smaller than 3. Right now, index is 2. Okay, 2 is still smaller than 3. Then we put index again, and then we add 2 to index. Then we go back to while again. Well, now index is 4. It's larger than 3. Then the while loop is stopped. Okay. Then we move on. Print done. Okay. Let's check. Okay. We print 0, 2, and done. Okay. Okay. Any questions so far about control structures, if statement, for loop, and while loop? Any questions? Okay, the elif, okay. Elif is else if, okay, it's else if. So here, so we define x equals to 500, right? So you will check it one by one, okay? So first, we'll go to the first if statement, okay? To check if x is larger than 5, okay? So x is 500, so x is larger than 5, okay? So it will print high greater than 5. And we'll stop. It will not run the elif, it will not run else, right? Because it has already checked x is larger than 5, and then we'll run the print, and those statements will be ended. This is a whole if statement, okay? If, elif, else, this is the whole if statement, okay? If x meets any of the requirements, it will stop, okay? And then if x is not larger than 5, say we have x equals to 4, okay? We can change it here, so x equals to 4. And since x is not larger than 5, it won't run the print high greater than 5. It won't run because it doesn't meet the requirement, okay? We'll go to the next. Next one is elif, okay? Elif, well, x is, okay? X is 4 is smaller than 5, okay? So it will run print, okay? X is smaller than 5. So let's run it, right? Okay, smaller than 5, right? Okay, so what if else equals to 5? So else equals to 5, it's not larger than 5 and it's not smaller than 5, right? Then we'll go to else. In else, it will print, okay, x equals to 5. Or you can change it to anything else, like the print. Is it clear or okay? Okay, all right. So we just have a few more things we want to talk about briefly. Okay. Oh, this one. I forgot this one. So so this is a block of code used combining while loop, for loop, if statement. There are three new. Sorry, disable it. And there are three new statements. Break. Break will jump out of the current loop, and continue will jump to the top of the next cycle within the loop, and pass will do nothing, just do nothing. Okay, so let's go over this and just be careful about indentation. So here we define n equals to 2. Yeah, means else if. Yeah, it's the short for else if. Yeah. So let's go over this block. So first we define n equals to 2. So while n smaller than 7, then we start running the commands inside the while loop. And for x in range 3 to 5, which means there x can be 3, x can be 4. Right? So we check if n is smaller than x. So n is 2 now, x is 3 now, n is smaller than 5. Then we print break, and we break. So break will jump out of our current loop. So what is our current loop? We're inside the for loop. So check indentation. Okay. We're in the for loop right now. Okay. We're in the for loop. The for loop inside the while loop. So it will break, will jump out of the for loop. Right? Jump out of this for loop. Then what we will do. Right? So then we will run n equals to n plus 1. So right, check indentation, because the n equals to n plus 1 is not inside the for loop, it's inside the while loop. We jump out of the for loop, we still have to run this command. Okay. Then 2 plus 1 equals 3. Okay. Then we go back to while loop. 3 is smaller than 7. Okay. Then we go into the for loop again, right? Now n is equals to n is 3, x is 3, right? And we go to else. Because n is not smaller than x, if n is not larger than x, n equals to x, right? Then we go to else, we print continue, and we add 1 to n equals 4 now. Then we continue. So what does continue do? Right? Continue will jump to the top of the next cycle within the loop. Okay, within the loop, it does not go outside of the loop. You will continue to next cycle of the loop. So we are in for loop, then we'll go back to the next cycle of the loop. Right now, x equals to 3, n equals to 4. Then we go back to f. And for next cycle, x equals to 4, n equals to 4 now. So they're the same. And they're the same again, then we go to else again. We bring continue again. And then we add 1 to n, now n equals to 5. Then we continue again. Right? Continue again, but you can see we reach the end of the range, right? Range 3, 5 is 3 and 4, right? There's no 5, so we reach the end of range. Then the for loop is ended. Now n equals to 5, okay? Then we add 1 to n. At the end of the commands inside while loop, n equals to 6, okay? Then we go back to while loop, 6 is still smaller than 7. Then we go into it and do it again. So then x start at 3 and n is 6, right? 6 is larger than 3, right? We print pass. Pass is what? Pass is do nothing, okay? Pass do nothing, and then we go back to 2. When then the if statement is ended, then we go back to 4. And x equals to 4, n equals to 6. 6 is still larger than 4. Then we print passes. Print passes and go back to 4 again. While for loop is ended, right? And then we print n equals to n plus 1. Now n is 7. Then if we go back to while 7 is not smaller than 7, then the while loop is ended. So we printed 1 break, 2 passes, and 2 continue and 2 passes. And let's check the results. Okay. It's not like very straightforward because the loop, I'm not sure if everybody is following this. If you did not follow, then you can go and review it and check it yourself again. Okay. So let's finish this one first. Okay. So we have 2 things to talk about. One is for functions. So we'll talk about functions briefly. Function is a group of related statements, and you will do a specific task, and not like any other code, right? The function will be run when if you don't call the function, it will not run, okay? And you can pass your data, you can pass your parameters into the function, and the function can return any type of results like data as you want, okay? So the functions will help us break out our code into very small and modular parts, and it will make our code more organized, and it's easier for us to manage our code, and it can be reusable, right? For us, for any other people, right? So how do we define a function? Okay, so you have to type the def space function name of function, and put the parameters inside the parentheses. Okay. So then you type a comment here and put the body of your code here. So let's see 2 examples. All right. The first example, we define a function named myAdd, and there are 2 parameters, x and y. So what does it return? It returns x plus y. So the input, so if we put 2 numbers there, it will return the sum of 2 numbers, right? Let's check. We put 3 and 8. If we print it, it will return 11, right? Okay. And then the input, next is a power. So with only 1 input, 1 parameter. So it will return the square of input and the cube of input. Right? So what will power 3 input? What is the output of power 3? So let's see. The output of power 3 will be the square of 3, which is 9, and the cube of 3, which is 27. Right? Okay. So we talk about briefly 2 very simple cases, and there are a lot of things to talk about in functions, and we won't cover it. We won't cover everything today. So and finally, I want to talk about Python modules briefly. Okay, so Python module is a Python script with Python functions and other statements. And you have to import the module before you can use it. Sometimes you have to download it and import it before you can use it. And there are a lot of very useful like Python modules. Like I think a lot of people have used it, like NumPy and Matplotlib. Right? So here, a lot of useful Python modules. Let's see this. Okay, so we have showed you how to import a module, right? At the beginning in the number section. Okay? So here you can see we import math and then we print. Oh yes. We are using Python 3 here. Okay, we're using Python 3 here. Python. We are talking about Python 3, right, in today's training, and Python. I mean, there are some differences between Python 3 and Python 2. Right? While I think Python 2 is not supported, and they discontinue the project Python 2 anymore, so we only talk about Python 3 here. So for most of the, I'm not sure most of the case, but for some codes in Python 2, it doesn't run without error in Python 3. So it's different. You have to figure if you're using something written in Python 2 and it probably won't run in Python 3. So you have to pay attention to it. Okay. And there are a lot of differences. I cannot cover them. If you're interested, you can go to the Python website and you can see a lot of people talking about the differences. Okay, and then here the directory function. Okay, we can use this function for a module. So we put the name of the module in the parentheses and we run it, and we can see it print all the attributes. Okay, for that module, right? You can see we have used the sign function. Right? We have used the square root. We have used the pi here, right? And we can also use the help function, right? Very straightforward help, which means we need help for this module. Right? If you print it, right, it will tell us how to use the module, how to use the attribute of this module. Right? And we can not only use help for our modules, but also for our built-in functions. Like if you do not know how to use print, very simple, and you run it, help, you put print in the help, it tells you how to use print, right? Very straightforward. And for data processing, this is just an example of how to use Matplotlib for generating your plot. Okay, so you just specify your labels, your text, your data error bar, right? Your title here, and you finally show it. Right? You can see or generate a pretty nice figure, right? You can directly use them probably. Right? So I think very, very straightforward. If you do not understand, you can probably go back and check. Very straightforward. Yeah, phone just shared a link in the chat channel. So about the differences between Python 2 and 3. Okay, so so here's a summary of today's training session. So what we talk about what is Python, why we use Python, and we talk about building data types, control structures, and we talk about a little bit about functions and modules, and cover everything. A lot of things to talk about in Python. So before you leave, please help us finish our training survey for the first link, and we will have a workshop for this summer. So we have sent out a survey for a summer workshop Tuesday I think. So please help us finish the survey. It's very, very short, like take you like few seconds, I think, to complete summer survey and probably 2 minutes for our training surveys. So just please help us to finish those surveys. And I think that's it for today. So thank you all for coming.